Well, welcome back to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast. I'm Frank.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode is episode number 103. And today we're sitting down with Jeremy, the cruising bear, to talk about his recent Alaska cruise on Princess. Let's jump into it.
All right, well, like Frank said at the start, today's guest needs no introduction here to the podcast. He's been on many, many times to talk about all of his different cruises. Jeremy, welcome back to the podcast.
As always, man, it's great to be here.
All right, so we were texting this morning, getting ready to record this evening. I had a new idea of something to do. Most of the time when we bring guests on for the first time, we intro and all that. But like I said, Jeremy, you've been on multiple times, and we haven't really done cruise news in a few weeks, Frank. So I'm going to call this Cruise Tweets. I've had some cruising-related tweets sent to me, and I've seen some stuff. So it's kind of news-related, but I'm going to kind of read the headlines, and I just want to see what y'all think of what's going on in the cruise industry right now.
Fire it in there, man. Fire it in there.
All right, so the first one, Frank, is an article you actually sent me. Carnival Cruise Line to offer series of adults-only voyages. Now, Carnival announced this, I think, about a week ago. I guess there were some sailings. The ship was supposed to be in dry dock, and it's either coming out of dry dock early or something's happening where they have these extra sailings now, and they're going to be doing these adult-only sailings.
I think it's for the casino. They're like offering it just for the casino program, right?
We wanted to book it. We actually have some really good deals on that one, man. A lot of free play and free rooms, and it's some of the stuff they're offering to get to guests is it's a ridiculously good cruise. I mean, it's a big casino cruise. When I saw it was adults only, I thought it was really interesting, and I think I saw people were kind of upset, right, that they're going to do adults only. But it's only for a couple cruises. It's not like it's going to be a thing with them. I don't think it's something. I think it's something we're going to try out. I guess it looks like Johnny Field came out and talked about it a little bit. I think it's a good idea. I mean, there are a lot of people, who don't want to cruise with kids. Casino people don't really do it that much, so they're just packing this with casino players and going adults only. And I think it's a nice change.
The only thing I'll add is I like this as a concept to try and see how it goes. My wife and I were talking about this. Maybe we've already said this on the podcast, but you think about a traditional cruise, it's kind of like the same. Once you get on board, it's like it's a cruise, right? But the factors that they could change, right? Like the crowd, how many people are on board. Potentially people would pay more to have less people on board. If Royal or Princess or Carnival said, hey, it's going to be half capacity, you'd be like, man, I might pay a premium to have that, like the water slides be, very, cut back in terms of lines. But the kids thing, I think a lot of adults would be like, I would even pay more again to just experience it without kids. So I think it's an interesting concept. We'll have to see what comes of it. Hopefully more lines could do something like this or experiment with some of these other factors in terms of their loads and who they're targeting for that specific cruise.
If it does well, Virgin's around. Virgin's doing well. They're doing okay. People like the adults only thing. Not everybody wants to cruise with a bunch of little kids, man. They run around. They get things get a little hectic. Some people can't handle that. Why not do 3 cruises how many cruises do they do as a company? And they're going to do 4 cruises. It's a drop in the bucket.
All right, so the next tweet I have here was tweeted by Universal Apex. Jeremy, this is going to your neck of the country over here. The Port of Galveston is in talks with a new cruise line under an NDA that will be complementary to Disney Cruise Line that would be in the 2031 timeframe.
So I've heard that Universal might be starting a cruise line. Did you hear that?
Yep, that's exactly what I think this is hinting at.
So, and of course, now just announced that in 27, Disney's going to be doing year-round now in Galveston. They're going year-round. They just announced it. And it sounds like a Wish-class ship is probably going to be coming. I don't know if it'll be the brand new ship coming out, or I think it'll probably be the Wish. They always send the older ship here. But, if we're going to get one of their biggest ships here, it's going to be year-round. And I wonder if that fueled them making that decision of being here year-round, of hearing that Galveston might be, opening up Universal, which I would be interested in doing Universal, honestly.
So we've talked, Frank, we're big into theme parks, love Universal, love Disney. And when this first came out, a couple of days prior to this tweet coming out, there was a rumor that they had gotten a website, which kind of led to rumors that maybe they're finally going to start a cruise line. And, some people online were like, they're already kind of behind. Why make a cruise line now? But you got to think, this came out pretty much the same time as their Epic Universe park opening. And that's the first brand new, like, full theme park we've had in the States in, I think, 20 years, I think. So I'm real interested to see what Universal could do with a cruise line. I think they got many great just IPs in the park. And like, imagine a main dining room themed to, like, the Great Hall from Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And, like, that changed, like, the different seasons and all. We've seen Disney theme the ships really well. I think Universal could do a great job too with their ships.
Universal, like, is people would say that they're better than Disney at theming. So, like, to that point, and like a lot, especially Epic Universe, like, people are saying that their Epic Universe is themed like the best park in the country, you know, and it's like, imagine that on a cruise ship. So, yeah, I'd be really excited. I would wonder what the price point. It sounds like it will come in less than what Disney would cost. So it's like, again, similar to Disney on land, right? Like Universal's kind of that cheaper alternative, but also still a really good alternative nonetheless. So, well, I guess we have probably a couple years till they would put a ship on order. We'll probably have to find out something by the end of this year, probably maybe by late next year. So I'm excited.
It'll also be interesting kind of what size of ship they kind of come out with too. If it's kind of like to the size of like Disney's newer ships, or if they go a little smaller, a little bigger, who knows?
Yeah. Wonder how many adults like do it. The adults that love Disney, they do Disney. Not everybody loves Disney. Not every adult wants to go on a Disney cruise. There's no casino. It's really geared towards kids. I wonder if they'll get a little bit more of the adult crowd that are into more. I mean, Universal does a lot of kid stuff, but I don't know. I think it kind of transcends a little farther than Disney does with what they do. And like you said, I said the same thing the first time I saw it. They do a Harry Potter cruise. It's gonna be magic. Pardon my pun there, but it's gonna be huge.
All right, well, that kind of wraps up our first cruise tweets segment. Like I said, between the three of us, we all have great thoughts, and I'm like, well, let's change it up a little. Instead of just cruise news when we're telling the news, let's kind of talk about our thoughts on it.
All right, Jeremy, let's talk about your recent Alaska cruise. So this was on the Royal Princess. What made you guys decide to pick the Royal Princess in this specific itinerary to Alaska?
So I'd love to say that it was the ship and all the stuff. I had a free deal from the casino. Shocking. At the end of my Sun Princess deal, we had both. She had wanted to do Alaska. It was bucket list for her. I wanted to get back to Alaska. But what chose this one is specifically, it went to Skagway, it went to Ketchikan, it went to Juneau, and it went to Glacier Bay. And I always felt like if you can go to Glacier Bay, your first cruise to Alaska, that's kind of the way to go for me. It's not a make or break, but it's a whole day, of Glacier Bay, and I thought that was for the win. And Skagway is something I definitely wanted to make sure happened. Discovery Princess wasn't doing that in the time frame we had it on, so we decided to do it Memorial Day weeks. I had an extra day off so for vacation days, so we made it happen.
Well, that's awesome, Jeremy, that, like you said, this was a free cruise for you, and you got to get back to Alaska, Lori's first time in Alaska. And I'm kind of excited to kind of just talk about Princess 2 today, right? They're one of the big contenders in Alaska. Some would say they do it the best out there, them, Holland America. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that side of things too today. We're also going to talk through your stops as well. So let's kind of just talk about, like we've said, you live in Texas. How was that trip to Seattle? And did you get to spend any time in Seattle before the cruise?
We were scheduled to get in at 7 o'clock. We had we stayed at the Coast Hotel by APA downtown. It wasn't really far. We were gonna get in, walk around a little bit, have dinner at a nice spot. Until we got on the plane and they said there was a problem and we got delayed 4 hours and we didn't get to our hotel till 1 o'clock in the morning. So
Gosh.
that ruined that. It's a 4.5 hour flight from Houston to Seattle.
Always a bummer. It's funny. I've been traveling a lot, and I feel like I was telling someone today that like 70% of my flights with American, we're in Charlotte, so American Airlines is what we have to do. I feel like 60 to 70% of my flights lately have been like delayed. Last night's was like canceled. So it's just interesting. If you're planning a cruise and you're planning to fly, give yourself some extra time. I feel like there's just so many factors to your point. Like had you gone the next day and you were flying in the day of, it would have been a disaster. So always give yourself a little cruise tip right there. Give yourself an extra day to get adjusted. And you were flying, like you said, Texas to the West Coast. So getting adjusted to the time zone and everything, you feel better giving yourself some time to get adjusted to time difference there. So
Absolutely. Yeah, we were exhausted getting in. It was 1 o'clock there. It was 3 o'clock in the morning at home, and then of course I wake up at it's 7 o'clock there, which is at least it's 9 o'clock at home,
yeah.
and I was pretty exhausted that first day for sure.
How was the traffic and just experience getting to the port? We're going to be on our Alaska cruise in T minus 20 days. What's that experience like going from downtown to Seattle to the Seattle port?
So the one that we're at, um, it's just one Holland ship and one Princess ship. There's another one downtown where the Bliss was. So and they're about 15-minute drive away. It wasn't really bad, man. We got down there. It was fairly easy getting in. It probably took us 15 minutes from our hotel. We were there pretty quickly. No problem getting an Uber or anything. So it was easy.
All right, so you made it to the port area now. Like you said, it seems like it's a little bit smaller. So, how was that kind of getting onto the ship? How was the embarkation process? Was it fast? How did it compare to some of your other sailings?
So apparently we got there at 10:30 and they were already letting people on. They apparently this was they were doing it really early. I don't know why. First little issue we had, we showed up. There was no porter there to take our bags. We rolled our bags, you know, where you get dropped off at, cross the little walkway. They have a lot of people directing traffic. It's not hectic. It's fairly organized. But then we had to roll it all the way into the cruise terminal, bring it all the way down to where the guys unloading the bags, and you give it to him, and he puts it on the conveyor belt, and then you send you on your way. So I saved $5 not having to tip the guy, but it was a
Yeah,
little weird, especially since we had four bags. But we came out of that, we turned the corner. There's a really big line to get in, and there was one little short line, and she's just waving everybody past, and I was like, "What's this line for?" She says, "Oh, that's for Green Lane." I was like, "We're Green Lane," so we just walked right in, walked up, and we were on the ship like in 10 minutes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, so
That's
you just gotta pay attention that, if you're doing Princess and you are Green Lane, make sure you don't get stuck in that blue lane line because those people have to go. They have to get their medallions. If you have Princess Plus, they get your medallion shipped to you for free. So you definitely want to make sure you're in the Green Lane.
So, is the Green Lane Jeremy people that already have their medallion?
It is. So when you can check in, like you can check in the day you do your cruise, right? And you order your medallion then. If you have Princess Plus or Princess Premier, they ship it to you for free. If not, you got to pay for the shipping. Once you get all checked in, it'll have on your app green lane, blue lane. You walk up with your medallion, you're ready to go.
that's awesome. So you got on board the ship. What was your first impressions of the Royal Princess? Was this your first time on this class of ship?
No, this was my third time on this class show. I'd been on the Sky and on the Regal, so it's kind of old hat to me. I mean, the Regal came out right after, and it's almost a carbon copy of it. So I kind of knew my way around pretty well. It's been a couple years since I've been on the Regal, but it's I kind of knew what I was doing. We get on there, but you walk in the piazza, and I love the way they do the piazza. It's a big, you know, space in the middle with all the stuff's around there. They have a bunch of music stuff. It's it's pretty. It's an older ship. I think it was 2012, I think. So you get a lot of the dark woods, a lot of the brass, the way ships were made back then. But it's a nice ship.
What was the first thing you guys did besides the mustard drill? Because I know you always knock that out
That
right when you
actually
get on board.
wasn't the first thing we did. The first thing we did actually, we were walking by, and Cruise Next was right there. So we grabbed our Cruise Next form, filled it out, and turned it in right then and there.
Nice. Do you want to explain to the people why you did that?
So Cruise Next on Princess, it's $100. It's a deposit towards a future cruise. You get onboard credit on that cruise when you book it. You don't have to book a cruise, and I think it's like a year and a half you have to book it, or in that range. So it's a deposit you can use later on. If you know you're going to sail Princess again, if you really want to sail, I mean, it's a smart move. I mean, you get two extra. If you get a balcony room, you get $50 on board credit your next cruise.
I think people feel like also if you're working with a travel agent that doing that you're like cheating on your travel agent. I know we book a lot of people that do that, right? They go on board and they have a next cruise certificate and it's great. And especially if you have a travel agent, I think on Royal Celebrity, if you go do the next cruise, it automatically goes to your travel agent. Pretty sure Princess, is it the same way where they have to transfer it to you or is it
No,
already in your name?
Princess handles it differently. When you go to book someone on Princess, you have the option to add their cruise next. You don't have to use it on the next cruise they book it on. You have the option to use the cruise next. So it's actually on their account. So if they book with you or don't book with you, but if they book the cruise online and you book that cruise for them, it will automatically go to you. But
Nice.
the cruise necks don't attach to you; they attach to that person's account, and you can use it. You can use it when you book them on your cruise.
All right, Jeremy. So you finished up at Cruise Next. You probably ventured to your stateroom now to get settled in. What type of room did you guys book on the sailing?
We actually got a deluxe balcony. We bid up to it and got a deluxe balcony. Midship on 11 is the perfect spot. I find on a ship with 18, 19 floors, 17 floors, 11 is a really good spot. We got really lucky where they put us there. So we got there. I mean, their staterooms on the world class ships are a little bit different. Now, when you walk into the room, they have like a little alcove there where you hang your clothes. It's almost like a little closet, and where the bathroom is, and it's kind of away from the room. They've gone away from that on the new ships, but I kind of like it. It's got a place to put your suitcases, so they're not under your bed, and they're out of the way. It takes a little bit for the room size, but you're gonna have an not armoire, little places just hang it up in the little closet space. And this kind of takes away the closet space, so you're pretty much not really losing any space.
That's awesome. That sounds like a great room setup. I like your tip about booking in the middle of the ship. You can easily get to the stuff at the bottom. You can easily get up to the Lido deck. Speaking of the Lido deck, do you remember what you guys did for the sail away party on this one? How was the sail away experience being going on Alaska cruise maybe versus the Caribbean vibe?
It was tame. It was fairly tame what we saw. We were walking around the ship, just checking things out, just looking around, seeing what was around there. The casino doesn't open that early because to get out of the channel and out in Washington, it takes hours for it to open. So the casino wasn't open, which we normally hit early on. We did walk through the casino, checked it out. We checked around, kind of went all the different decks, just kind of looked around, took some pictures. Sailing out of Seattle, Mount Rainier is right there in the background, and it's beautiful. We sat and watched. Honestly, just kind of sat and watched the scenery go by. It's a nice sail away. Honestly, you're not just out of got out of Miami, now you're just in the middle of the water for a while. You're going through a channel, and there's mountains and hills and land on both sides. It looks very nice.
And going through those mountains and the channel, I mean, it's really just preparing you for what you're about to see now on your stops here in Alaska. So your first stop of your sailing was Juneau, Alaska. What did you guys end up doing here for the day?
And we booked Mendenhall Glacier and whale watching. We were supposed to have 90% chance of rain the whole day and cold. We get off and there's a little bit of rain and it kind of cleared up. The difference between this and my first time going to Mendenhall, I felt like there was only one or two ships in Juneau that day, and there were so many people at Mendenhall. It was a little disappointing to have hundreds of people around there having trouble getting around, getting in. We had 1 hour there. We got a lot of beautiful pictures, but there people were going in places they weren't supposed to. There were places roped off for certain animals that were or in mating season or they're hatching eggs or whatever, and people went underneath there. It just I mean it was a bummer to have that many people there and loud and noisy. The first time I went, it was very quiet and serene. It was my first time seeing a glacier, my first time being in Alaska, and I kind of just sat on the bench and sat there for a while, just enjoying it. You can't do that here because there's so many people. We did see some beautiful views. We enjoyed it. I didn't dislike my excursion. I didn't dislike being there. It just kind of brought me down a little bit having that many people at Mendenhall at the same time. We did have a late get in. We didn't. I don't think we got there until 1 o'clock. It's not like we had an all day in Juneau. It was a 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. stop. So everybody kind of piles in and tries to do it at the same time. They try to offset people, but it's hard to do when you only have 6 7 hours.
Jeremy, this is the day that you guys also had the glacier, like Glacier Bay, right?
No, no, no. So on Princess Glacier Bay is its own day. With Endicott Arm and Tracy Arm Fjord, it almost always feels like they do that in the morning and then they head over to Juneau, which is why we like Glacier Bay because Juneau's its own day and Glacier Bay is its own day. So we they give me an hour, we get back on. Of course, there's always some guy late to get to the bus. They're supposed to leave at this time. He's 10 minutes late getting over there. We get over to the boat. Very nice crew. It started to rain a little bit, little sprinkles, not bad. We go a ways out. You're on there for about 15, 20 minutes in the boat just going. And we get to a spot, and everybody kind of goes out. There's plenty of room for everybody else. There's room on the front, there's room in the back, there's room up top. So there's room for everybody to be on a railing. And now you're just watching. And the guides are there on the way out. They're talking to you about whales, talking about what you're going to see, talking to what to look for, and all that kind of stuff. So they keep you entertained some while you're talking, while you're walking out there. while you're, sorry, going out there on the boat. And now you get out there and they tell you, listen, we need you as much as you need us. You see something, whale 10 o'clock, so everybody's got their eyes peeled and everybody's looking for a whale. And we had some come up fairly close to the boat in the front, and then they kind of went away. And then it was kind of slim pickings for a while. And we went to another spot and watched. And then we saw like one tail come up, no jumping, no nothing, only a couple of little pods. We saw some eagles, we saw some seals, and so then we had to go back. So I wouldn't call it a disappointment. We saw whales. It was very nice. It was a nice day out there, but we could have saw more whales. It was a little on the slow side as a whale day. I think there were only two pods out there. They did recognize though off the tail now. It's so cool. The tail comes up. Everybody's taking pictures. They find someone get a clear picture. They have a book with all the tails in there, and this is the name of this one right here. It's there with its pup right now. So it was kind of cool. But like 2 minutes after we knew which whale was in there.
That's pretty cool. I like that. I think I've got a whale watching tour book too, so I'm pumped for that. And just a lot of those, like you said, it's not just whales. You're looking for otters and the eagles and just different cool animals out there. So it's not just about the whales, because to your point, you may not even see any whales. It's just luck of the draw.
Yep.
Sounds like you had a really good day in Juneau. You guys made the most of both of those tours. And, it's a good point you bring up about the Glacier, right? Because we're doing the helicopter tour. And, it's not a full day activity. So it's one of those ports where you want to have a couple of things lined up, because at the end of the day, you're there and you're in Alaska. You want to make the most of it. So there's a lot to do, but line some stuff up, because some of those tours are quick. They're only 2-3 hours and you're there for 7-8 hours. You want to make the most of your time.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Skagway. Skagway was your second stop on your itinerary. What did you guys end up doing here?
We had the train tour. So I think it was 2017 that I went to Alaska the first time to Skagway, and I took a bus into the Yukon, and it was that and my day in Maui were my two favorite excursions I've ever did in my life up until this point. On the bus right out there, you stop at this fault line, and you get out, and this unbelievable vast view of the valleys and the mountains, and you take pictures and you go out later on, like this doesn't do it justice even a little bit. It's so. It's so grand, it's so amazing being out there. And we took that bus over there. It's like an 8 hour or 6 hour excursion we did. It was amazing. But Lori had wanted to do the trains. I hadn't done the trains. I wanted to do the train, so we did that. It's about 3 hours. It winds up. It kind of follows the road a little bit, but it winds and goes up into the mountains. Right. You get on there and you're low as you're going up. You see trees, there's rocks on the side. It's nice. You're allowed to go out onto the platform. I was a little nervous going out there at first, and then when I did, I never wanted to come back in. It was a cool day. It was clear outside, and I had my gloves and I had my beanie on. I had my sweatshirt on. I go outside. I have my gimbal and everything. So I start recording, and I never want to come back in. As we get higher up, and as the you start seeing breaks through the trees, and then literally you're looking down off the side, and you're like 3 feet from the edge, and you realize you're 1,000 feet up, and you're still going up, and it's cold. And every view, every time you go around the bend, every time the trees clear, every time you see something, and you catch your breath. I'm like literally, I'm amazed by what I see every single time we turn the bend. I can look away and look back. I'm still amazed when I see it again. And yet we're going up and we're going up and we're going up, and I don't want to come in. It's getting colder. Now we're at the top where, I think it's 2,800 or 2,900 feet up, and you go up before you turn around, it's nothing but snow around you. It's blue water in some of them. It's really amazing. And then you turn around and you start coming down. I still didn't want to come inside. I spent probably at least half, if not 2/3 of the time on the platform. People were coming and going because it was cold. I didn't care about the cold. I didn't care about the fear of being up high. It was probably one of the most amazing days I've ever had in my life. It was gorgeous the entire time. Once you get past the trees, and you really see down in the valley, it is spectacular. It is really hard to convey what you see, how beautiful it is, how awe-inspiring it is, how giant it is. And like I said, I'm going back looking at my videos. I'm like, man, this is nothing. I guess I need to watch those videos on a giant screen, because watching it on my phone doesn't do anywhere near justice. It's amazing. I would recommend that tour to everybody. And I would say, even if you're a little scared of heights, spend some time out there, dress warm, have your stuff ready to go, and get out there and sit on the or stand on the platform outside the train for a little while.
Yeah, that excursion sounds awesome. I know for our sailing, we're going to Sitka instead. So this is like a reason to get back to Alaska
Yeah.
someday. Because I know when we were started looking at excursions, this is one of the ones I saw. But then I was like, oh wait, we're not going to Skagway. So
Yeah.
like you said, just another reason to get back out there. It reminds me, growing up all the time, I still watch to this day the Polar Express.
I
And just,
know.
like the train ride of that, and now like this one just looks
I know.
spectacular.
And I was the one that directed us to the Sitka one, so I'll take the blame. But we'll have, again, it's another reason to go back to Alaska.
It is. I mean, I find myself like I want to go back again. Eggs, I want to do that. I want to do that again. I want to be more prepared. I want to spend more time outside. I actually want to spend more time outside. I don't think I go inside except for maybe a couple minutes if I do it again. And I'm going to do it again. I'm absolutely doing it. I want to take my kids to do it. I definitely want to do that again. But I also want to go back to Skagway again after that because I want to do the bus tour again. I didn't have a good phone. I didn't have great. I mean, that was amazing as well. And there's still more things in there I want to do. Skagway might be. I mean, it's a definitely top three spot of any cruise ports I've been to so far. I can't imagine many beating that.
You went to Victoria, right, at the end of the cruise?
Yeah, if you want to call it going to Victoria.
I know ours is actually stopping like around dinner time.
Ours was 9. Ours was 9 to midnight, and we ended up being late. It was a 9:30 to 11:30 day. We didn't even get off.
Oh dang, ours is 5 to 10, I think.
Yeah, it was the day before you get off the cruise the next day. So the first time I went, I did go. I did go. We got off the first time I went. Because we got there, it was still light outside when we got there, but this time was really weird. They only go because you have to stop at an American or U.S.
Yeah.
port.
I mean, we might just eat dinner or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
I
Go to a
mean,
pub or
we went
something.
the first time. We went downtown, shopped around a little bit. It was pretty cool. It's a beautiful. I mean, telling you, I'll talk about when we get there how beautiful it is pulling into port. Though it's a really really pretty city.
All right, so your next day on your sailing was your day at Glacier Bay. Now, you said this was a big reason why you chose this itinerary. Obviously, only a few lines go here. So you got Princess, Carnival, Holland America. How was your day sailing through Glacier Bay?
Glacier Bay is it's great, really is. It's the only problem for us is the weather was not. This is the one place where the weather really didn't hold up very well. It was hazy and rainy. The view you could still see, but it wasn't crystal clear out there. We didn't get to hear the Marjorie Glacier calving at all. It wasn't. It was a clear day. It would have been better. It's still beautiful. We saw this seal on top of this big ice piece, just hanging around. It was really funny to look at them. It's still another awe-inspiring thing. I mean, you're going down here, you've seen all these glaciers, knowing the ice to the front took 120 years to get to the front. It's you kind of think about it and you think about where the glaciers were when you go to I think that's the one next to the Marjorie Glacier. There's no glacier there anymore. It's receded so far back. So, and then you see some other ones. It's man, it's hard to impress on people the beauty, even on a hazy day, of being in that whole bay. They bring the rangers on board. They stop at the park there, and they bring 3 or 4 rangers on board. They walk around the ship. They answer questions. They have a little table set up where they're selling things. Get there early because it was like 100 people long, and I didn't end up going because I was not going to wait in line for 100 people for a little table where everybody was taking forever. But they commentate the whole thing. They talk about the glaciers. They talk about the history of Glacier Bay. They talk about the wildlife you see. They talk about the environmental impact and all these things. So they aren't really, throwing in your face one way or the other on the environmental impact either. They just kind of talk about, what's going on with the glaciers. So it's a wonderful day. It's always a good day. You get there. I think depending on what time you can get there, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. You go all the way down. When you get to the Marjorie Glacier, you do a kind of a 360 turnaround. You come down, you see another glacier. You do a 360 turnaround, and then you head back out of Glacier Bay, and you can still see wildlife. You can still see whales. You can still see seals and stuff like that. So it's a wonderful day.
When it comes to just a packing question, Jeremy, do you bring binoculars or anything for the view at these
I,
spots?
I did bring binoculars for this one. Yes, I did. However, I mean, I have a 15 Pro Max, and the zoom using the gimbal actually got in pretty close. So I didn't use them as much as I thought I was going to.
Okay.
When we were doing some time lapses, we used our binoculars some, but yeah,
I mean, Glacier Bay sounds gorgeous. I'm excited to see some of the videos you have. I know obviously you can't control the weather, but still, I mean, you're surrounded by glaciers and the
Yeah.
water's beautiful. Like you said, just being in that atmosphere where they're explaining and talking you through what you're seeing too is super unique, right?
it
And
is.
for that reason alone is a reason to book this cruise. So Jeremy, your last stop on this cruise was Ketchikan. What did you guys end up doing, and and how'd you spend your day in Ketchikan?
Ketchikan is another kind of a half day thing because you get there, we get there at 7, I believe, and we left at like 1 o'clock. It was like that my first time too. I'm not sure what time your guys are, but it's a short day and it's disappointing. I like Ketchikan. The first time we went a couple, like 10 years ago or whatever, it was kind of a rainy day. This one, it started off a little bit rainy and then it cleared up for a while. We did a thing called over the top tours. It was actually ended up being just us on this tour. The afternoon one had more people. What literally just me and her. It was wonderful. Me, her, and our guide. And he lived his whole life there. I think he's like in his 60s. He lived his entire life in Ketchikan. He knew so much about it. It was fun talking to him. He was supposed to be, hopefully see some wildlife. We were hoping to see bears, shockingly, but unfortunately we could not find one. There was a few black bears out there. He took us where the haunts where they normally are. A couple times we didn't see them. The low tide was coming out, so he took us, out to the beach where the tide dropped out, where normally it's underwater. He showed us starfish and urchins and all these things and all these crabs and seals and stuff like that, and gave us some history about what's going on around there. And we walked around. It was really crazy being down that low in the water with everything receded and what was just underwater. It was, I mean, it was the sun was out. It was fairly warm. It was wonderful. He drove us around. We saw some deer. He took us to see just some beautiful sights around town. We did not get super lucky with eagles. We did see an eagle. We didn't see any bears. We saw a deer. So we didn't see as much wildlife as we wanted to, but that didn't really dampen the tour. We had a good time on the tour. It took us to this beautiful waterfall. It was such a powerful waterfall. They had a really really hard rain the day before. That standing in front of it, the wind coming off the water was falling like blowing on you, making you cold. It was like it felt like 30-mile-an-hour winds just sitting there as the waterfall's falling in front of you. It was pretty cool.
That sounds awesome.
And then of course we get back and then we end our tour. We go to Creek Street. Creek Street, if you haven't seen pictures of it, it's very pretty, very it's the old red light districts up there, so where they used to do that back in the day, now they're shops. And you go up there, there's all a bunch of little shops to shop, to check out what they have, people selling their wares and some really beautiful artwork and really beautiful carving is done there. We get through there, by that time it's almost time to go back to the ship.
Well, sounds like another great day here in Ketchikan. Now, obviously, all cruises have to hit that international stop, so you sort of had some time in Victoria. You were saying you were only there for a couple hours. Tell us about your experience this time in Victoria.
It was supposed to be 9 to 12, but we had a delay somewhere, so we had actually not getting from 9:30. The two best parts about Victoria is while we're sailing there, I'm just sitting there staring, looking outside, kind of looking out the window. I see a big black fin come up, and we were really hoping to see orcas while we were in Juneau. We didn't. It's a low possibility anyway, but there's a pot of orcas, right outside, and have to be looking right as we're passing them. So we went out there and we got to see them come up. One of them, they're playing around. There's a bunch of little baby ones or smaller ones, I should say, and they were playing in the water. It was really cool to see. We were very excited to see it. Some dolphins and the seals later on. So we got to see that. Pulling into Victoria's a very 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 pretty town. We pull in at right at sunset, and I couldn't take enough pictures and videos. It was just beautiful. I was like, man, I really wish we could go. But at that point, I was dying to go ashore. But I mean, I wasn't going to go ashore for 2 hours. It's already 9:30. It's our last night. We've already put our bags outside. We're tired. We got to get up early in the morning. So we just kind of let it go and didn't go on board. But it was a really nice, really pretty view out there.
All right, Jeremy. So your itinerary included roughly 2 sea days. It's a little weird because you had like one actual sea day, and then you had the Victoria day, which was like mostly a sea day, and then obviously at Glacier Bay. But what did your sea days look like while you're cruising through Alaska? How did that kind of compare to your typical sea day in the Caribbean?
They didn't differ a whole lot for us. Well, we woke up late. Slept, tried to sleep in some. We had a couple early mornings. The rough travel day kind of robbed us some sleep there, and then the next night we ended up staying late. We casino opened late, so we stayed late in the casino some. Hit a really big jackpot on Juno Day, so we hit the casino again the night of Juno. So we spent the night at the casino the night before. After Seattle. So we woke up late. We didn't get out of the room until almost lunchtime. So we went to ate Alfredo's Pizza. That was a long eat. Next thing you know, it was like 2 o'clock. The days like gone. We woke up late, long lunch. We kind of looked around the ship a little bit. We gambled some in the casino. We went to the shops a little bit, looked at some cologne stuff. Look, they have a lot of Alaska stuff to sale for sale in the shop. It's a lot of really nice things to look at. So we shopped around for a couple hours. We didn't really see any shows, didn't really listen to any music that day. We kind of just, enjoyed our views. Went to the casino, shopped around, ate, kind of made it a little bit of an early night. Then the day before Victoria, it was kind of a low key day. You had to pack. Woke up late again. We packed. You kind of just hanging around. I was a little bummed. The cruise is coming to an end. We went to had some '80s game show we went to. That was really fun. And then we went to the room, just kind of napped a little bit. Just kind of get ready for the next day. We had a long day in Seattle on the last day, so we kind of went back, got ready for that.
Now, Jeremy, you've mentioned kind of the views you got to see on your sea days, and you've kind of talked about the weather a little, how it wasn't super rainy compared to, before we got on, you said one of the days it was like torrentially downpouring at one of your stops. But when it came to the sun at night, what time was the sun setting about throughout your cruise?
11-ish.
Okay.
Comes up like
That's
a four.
wild to
Comes
think
up
of.
like a
I
4 in the
know.
morning and goes down like 11. It'll throw you off.
Did you have an issue with like blocking out the sun in your balcony, or no issue? Okay.
No, the curtains are really good, man. They did. You get the light come around the outside, but the curtains blocked it out pretty well. We slept well. They had Princess's comfortable beds. I mean, we did that. We had the bed we had on the celebration, but it kept separating in the middle, and it wasn't very comfortable. This was a very comfortable bed. We slept well.
Now, like we said at the start, Princess is known to be pretty much like the top cruise line in Alaska. What were some things, obviously you chose Princess because, like you said, it's one of the top lines. First off, kind of what makes Princess stand out to you while you're sailing through Alaska?
Well, first of all, they put more ships in there than anybody else. They really, really dig deep into it. They really make the vibe on board. They have a lot of theme stuff. They had the puppies come on board for the Iditarod. They have the park ranger come on board. They really throw themselves into Alaska. You look at like when we were in Ketchikan, NCL has to tender port in, and when we're walking back to the ship, the line was like we saw the line. We're like, is that the line to get back on our ship? Oh my God, that's crazy long. It was like 300-400 people long and barely moving.
Oh my
Luckily, that
gosh.
wasn't for us. That was for NCL to get back on their ship. So we didn't really have to deal with that. They kind of they go so long there. They've been doing it so well. They kind of get the good spots in the ports. They don't park farther away like NCL has to do. So they just do a good job of really making you feel like you're in Alaska. The food. We're not big seafood people, but they really go into it with the seafood and what they have there. Just the whole vibe on board. They do a great job.
Jeremy, we know you love some good cruise food. So do we. I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Man, I was looking at the dining room on Royal. They don't do what you just said, where it's like seafood. It's the same thing, but it's kind of nice because I'm looking forward to some of the dishes, right? Like the bolognese, the curries. I'm personally looking forward to eating some of that food. How was the food on board your Royal Princess sailing to Alaska? Where did you find yourself eating breakfast and lunch throughout the day? And how was the main dining room experience? Or did you guys end up doing any specialty dining?
We ended up not doing the main dining room because the menu, honestly, you find one thing and one thing, or no appetizers and one thing you're not really excited about. We decided to skip it. The buffets on the world class ships are big. They have a large selection, probably the largest selection of any cruise ship, class I've been on. Their buffet. They do a really really good job of the buffet there. I won't say the food was fantastic in the buffet because it's buffet food, and as we all know, buffet food's kind of gone downhill a little bit for most cruise lines. We did Crown Grill one night. It was fantastic. It was really good. The filet mignon, which I don't really get, was done well. It was a really good night. They took care of us well. When you're Princess Plus, you get two casualty dining. On this class ship, it's the Alfredo's Pizzeria or it's seafood. We did Alfredo's twice for lunch. It was good, but it was a lot for a pizza lunch. You're looking at about hour and a half, 2 hours. It was kind of a long lunch. So I don't know. It was nice. It was I like Alfredo's. It's good pizza. It's good. It's kind of a short menu to choose from as far as appetizers and desserts, but it was good food.
Well, overall, it sounds like you had some good food on your sailing. Now, like you mentioned, Princess, like in the main dining room, kind of leans heavy with the seafood and, kind of trying to get that Alaskan culture on the ship. How about entertainment? I know you mentioned like park rangers come on the ships, the puppies in the piazza. Did any of like the evening entertainment lean with any Alaska themes, or is it kind of just the normal entertainment you would see on any other sailing?
Kind of the normal entertainment. I mean, they didn't really do anything Alaska themed. They do their game shows. They do Deal or No Deal. They do but they have a great cruise director. I can't remember his name, but man, he was super entertaining. Everything he did, they made it seem their entertainment team did really well. We went to a couple game shows. We went to a Love and Marriage one. We went to the '80s one. We did a couple of different things, and it was. I mean, we had a blast on both everything we went to. Those were there was really high energy. They did a really good job of getting the crowd into it, making you laugh. So the things that we went to that we wanted to do, we enjoyed thoroughly. They did a wonderful job.
Jeremy, you just got off the Carnival celebration. How would you say the service and crew compared when you talk about Carnival versus their sister brand Princess? Did you feel like it was pretty comparable, or did you notice a step up in service? Talk us through your service on board this ship.
I mean, it was great service everywhere we went. Honestly, it was on par. I mean, I'll say this: I've never really gone and had a bunch of bad service on any ship I've ever been on. I'm over 25 cruises now, and I've never come back like that was pretty crappy. Never. It's never been that way for me. It's just mostly good service. We had good service about. I mean, they had that little problem with my son on the last one with the one rude worker, but we had good service everywhere. Our room guy was fantastic. The people in the buffet were really nice. People, in the casino were nice. People, the shops were nice. Like I said, we went to the clone shop like 3 or 4 times, and the lady working there was very nice to us and accommodating. So we got a lot of help everywhere. Princess has good service. I haven't had bad service on Princess before.
I think going along with service, right? Like part of the thing that Princess really has that other cruise lines don't is the medallion. Did you feel like this made a big difference? Again, just going from a cruise that didn't have a medallion to, you walk up to a bar, they know your name, you don't have to bother with a key card. Like, did you feel like it was a big deal?
Yeah, I actually I'm a big one of the reasons why I like Princess is the medallion. The medallion was big for me. I love walking up to the door and you're sometimes we're like 30 feet away and unlock their door for us. It recognizes when you're coming. It's really great. You can wear it so you don't. Where's my? I had a little thing on my watch right here. I slid it onto my watch, put my medallion in there, and it was always there. So anytime I put my watch on when I left the room, my medallion's on it. She had a little thing on her hip with a little, like a key card thing for hers. So when you walk up to the bar, if there's a bunch of people there, they're going to ask you your room number. If there's, but when they put it in, I've seen a tablet. Everybody's picture pulls up. That's within range of their medallion. And if it's just you there or a couple people, they see your face. They point out to Jeremy and Lori. Okay, then you're good to go. The medallion is a game changer for me. I love it. Yeah, I mean it's a small thing, but it makes life easier while you're on board. You can't beat it, honestly. If every cruise line did it, everybody would love it. I can't imagine anybody would like to have a ship card over the medallion. That's why I mean that Princess has really got the market cornered on that pretty well. Other people have something similar, but they don't quite do it the way the medallion does it, where you can find. Yeah, I need to find the casino. Where's it at? Well, I don't know where I'm out on the ship. People who get lost on Princess ships, I tell them, there's no way you can get lost on Princess ship. Go on the app, click the button. It tells you exactly where to go. It's the medallion's wonderful.
Well, Jeremy, the medallion sounds great. I can't wait to eventually use that on a cruise someday. Now, speaking, since we're talking Princess, another thing Princess really leans into is their land tours. And these can kind of go up to like a week long before your cruise, after your cruise, and you're exploring Alaska off ship. Could you see yourself adding on one of these to a cruise in the future?
Absolutely, I would love to. I would love to go. I've kind of looked into them, if you would add the price and the time to it. But yeah, they take you to these beautiful resorts in there, and they give you their excursions you can do from over there. The views are stunning as always. You're in a little bit you're a little bit more into the wilderness. You're not on the water now. You're in the wilderness, in the middle of the wilderness of Alaska, and I mean, who doesn't want that, right?
And I swear I've heard people say like once you like tack that onto your cruise too, then it's even harder to go back and not do both
Yeah.
on your future Alaskan sailings.
Oh, I bet. Well, Jeremy, unfortunately, at some point your cruise had to come to an end and you got off the ship in Seattle. How was that disembarkation process in Seattle?
It was well done. I think pretty much everybody has it as it's pretty easy for everybody now. I guess sometimes you can get a few problems. Remember, my one in LA wasn't great, but this one here, the organization and how getting off and your bag tags and the walk off and the announcement, the communication was all very good. We had a midnight flight, so we had all day in Seattle. So we were like, I would probably say one of the last 20 people off the ship. We were waiting and waiting and waiting, just because we didn't want to. We had a kind of a room for the day, but we couldn't get in there till noon. We ended up going to using Luggage Hero to drop our bags for a couple hours down at Pike Street. The biggest downfall getting off, the debarkation was great. It was after you get off the ship is the problem. First of all, they don't have facial recognition, although but that went really quickly. Maybe because we were one of the last ones off, but they were kind of just waving people through that were on there with their passports. If you have an Uber or a Lyft, not a private ride, it is a 10-minute walk with all of your luggage to the lot. And again, we had four pieces of luggage, two big suitcases, two little small ones, plus our backpacks. And it was a walk. And I mean, I'm 50, she's, younger than I am by a little bit. There are some people in their 60s and 70s that were struggling to get there, having to stop. I was like, man, there's no tram, there's no rides. You put it 10 minutes away and you force people to walk it. Not the best situation, honestly. I mean, I see it at airports, but I was a little miffed. The last time we were there, they were able the Uber and Lyft were able to come in and where people drop off at, pick up there. If you had a private ride, you could do it, but taxis and stuff, but Lyft, Uber, rideshare is a 10-minute walk. And I'm not exaggerating. It says come out 7 to 10 minute walk to Lyft and Uber.
Well, that's honestly a good thing to know because obviously, I mean, I didn't know about that at all, and I have grandparents that are coming on this sailing with us. So, yeah, even like that, it may be smarter now to kind of look into those shuttle options that can pick you up from the port and shuttle us over to the airport. Because I think our flights are in the afternoon; they're not at midnight, so we're not going to have that full day in Seattle afterwards. But it's nice that you did, since, like you said, your time before Seattle was cut short. Did you do anything cool during your day here?
Yeah, we wanted to see Pike Street. We wanted to see the Space Needle. We wanted to see there's a troll, the Fremont Troll under the bridge there. So we did. We got we waited. We timed it perfectly. Right when Luggage Hero Place opened up, it was in a store called Everything Purple. We go in there, you check in. You bring your bags to the back, and then you just go walking. So we walked around the shops at Pike Street. We ate at this really cool bar there. It was good food. It was really really cool atmosphere. We went and grabbed an Uber over to the Fremont Troll. It started raining. It started raining kind of bad at that point. The driver didn't drop us off at the right spot. Now we're kind of running down this hill, and it was, but the troll was really cool, and we got to run back up these stairs to him, and he took us back. At that point, we're like, well, we're kind of over the Space Needle, so we went in, just got our Uber, got our bags, and went over and got we went to our room for a while and relaxed for our, try and get some rest because it was gonna be a long night. It left at midnight there, but arrived in Houston at 6:15 in the morning. So it was gonna be a long, actually a short night with not a lot of sleep. So we wanted to rest as much as possible.
Well, it sounds like you had a pretty epic trip, you and Lori. Now, I want to hear, how do you feel like this cruise compared to some of the vacations that you guys have done in the past? Obviously, Alaska's expensive, right? It's not a cheap ticket. Obviously, you have to fly to Seattle. It's pretty expensive to get there. Then you're staying a night before. The excursions are expensive. The cruises are typically more expensive. How do you feel like, it was for you guys? Did you feel like it was worth it? And then also speaking for Lori, this was one of, again, less than 5 cruises in for Lori. How would you say she would stack this against some of her other cruises that she's done so far?
I think for what it was with, I mean, it wasn't her favorite ship and it wasn't her favorite food, obviously, but I think the experience wise, the top one, it's going to be hard to beat. Same for me. My first Alaska cruise it's at the top and it stays near the top for sure. And this goes right up there with it. There are things about both cruises that were wonderful. I mean, this was obviously, like you said, the best excursion I ever did. The most fun, most I guess exhilarating I ever had on an excursion was on Skagway again, and Skagway is probably my favorite stop. So, all any Alaska cruise will always be near the top for me. I'm It's expensive, yes. We had to get the midnight flight because the flights home were crazy expensive. That's the only reason we had the midnight flight. It was there weren't a lot of direct flights home, and they were like $600 a person. So we had to find the best flight option we could, and it was midnight. So it's expensive, but it's not what you're going to do every year. You're not going to do Alaska a lot. It's a unique experience. We're in Texas. It's flat in Houston, South Texas, where we are. You do the Caribbean a lot. This is a welcome change, and it's something I think every cruiser should do at some point if you can get a chance to do it. I would say I don't know how you can miss it.
Well, I know we're both super excited for our sailing. Obviously, seeing all of your videos and stuff you were posting throughout the week just got us excited even more. And now sitting down and talking to you now. And obviously, we're going to continue to bring more Alaska content probably over the next month or two.
Yeah.
Throughout, I think we're talking maybe doing a things to pack for that are Alaska specific, obviously doing like a pre-Alaska cruise episode. So stay tuned for all of those episodes. And Jeremy, thanks, for coming back on and talking to us about your Alaska sailing. And we can't wait to have you back on here on the podcast in the future.
As always, man, I love coming back. I can't wait to come back.
As always, we love having the Cruising Bear on. Make sure you go check them out on social media at the Cruising Bears. We are also looking at doing a cruise. We talked about this maybe a few weeks back with Jeremy at this point. And so if you're interested in hopping on a cruise with us next year, we're trying to plan it for next fall. There's a link in the description of this episode. You can also find the link at cruiseconversationspodcast.com. I think there's a tab called Book a Cruise. Click that, and there's a link to take you to the form for the group cruise. But again, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Cruise Conversations podcast, and we will see you back here next Wednesday.